District Attorney Sandra Doorley on October 13th at 1:25 p.m. I sent you an email that has 34 YouTube videos that details the disgraceful assault on my civil and constitutional rights by your office and your silent prosecutor and Sheriff Todd Baxter. 34 YouTube videos. And it's a disgrace what I detail in each one because of Sheriff Todd Baxter, Penfield Town Court Judge John Lomenzo, Penfield Town Court Judge James Mully, and you. Now, in that email is a FOIL. And a FOIL is a Freedom of Information Law document. And I'm demanding your public employee payroll because you, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, are a public employee. When you go to your bank and you withdraw cash or you deposit your check into your bank account, that is taxpayer dollars. And when every single one of your employees at your criminal organization known as the Monroe County District Attorney's Office receives a paycheck, every single cent is taxpayer dollars. So, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, comply with my Freedom of Information Law document demand as you are asking for another 4 years of District Attorney and disclose your public employee payroll by emailing your public employee payroll to my email address or mailing it to my home address, because this is the document, Madam District Attorney, that compels you to disclose your public employee payroll. And I know what your decision is, Madam District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Your decision is contempt for the law because you are above the law in Monroe County, Sandra Doorley. I hereby apply to inspect, obtain a copy of the following records, quote, the public employee payroll for the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. There it is. It's that simple, Sandra Doorley. You don't want anybody to know what your public employees are paid in the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Because you know that the reaction to the salaries you pay to your public employees is outrage. You know that. And that's why you're going to ignore this document. That's why you live in fear of your public employee salaries becoming public, just like Sheriff Todd Baxter lives in fear of his public employee salaries becoming public. I'm going to read that again for you, Madam District Attorney. I hereby apply to inspect, obtain a copy of the following records, quote, the public employee payroll for the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. What is not to understand? I'm also demanding, in that same email, I hereby apply to inspect, obtain a copy of the following records, quote, the documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester before John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Penfield Town Court. What is the name of the female prosecutor? That's what I want to know. I want to know her name. I demand to know her name because she stood at that podium in court in silence. And I'm delivered to Monroe County Jail without one word, one sound, one syllable from your prosecutor. How does this happen in the United States of America? District Attorney Sandra Doorley, your DA, as you're asking for another 4 years in office. Your DA is a lie. What is her name, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, because a prosecutor is supposed to prosecute. And I'm not guilty of any crime. I'm not guilty of criminal contempt or harassment second. These are nauseating, disgusting concoctions. I've never committed a crime. And Todd Baxter has descended on my life twice with 2 arrests. I didn't suddenly lose the ability to make a distinction between right and wrong, legal and illegal, justice and injustice. He is a vile human being. And you, Sandra Doorley, are a vile human being. Because your prosecutor stood there and said nothing, not one word. And I'm transported to Monroe County Jail. And I'm going to tell you about this descent on my life by him. And you've been told this. And there's nothing from you. The truth is undeniable. That's why. And there's nothing from Sheriff Baxter. Because the truth is undeniable. I live here at 26 Sanders Farm Drive. I've lived here since 2012. I moved here from Webster, a beautiful, perfect lawn. There's no grass cutting going on alongside my residence. And here it is. That's where I live. That's the parking lot, 17.9 million New Yorkers can walk through except me. That's the grass alongside my house that no one owns. So suddenly they're here all the time from Broccolo Tree and Lawn Care, all the time. How would you like it, Sandra, if you're sleeping at 7 o'clock in the morning with your husband or significant other, or you're just sleeping by yourself, and here they come, 7 o'clock in the morning. And you know no one owns that land. So what I did, so I went outside. I'm outside for 30 seconds. They don't own that land. I walk in. Sheriff Todd Baxter, that's his surveillance device. That's it right there. And I'm on it. Because he put that on that building for me. So Sheriff Todd Baxter told this toothless tractor riding ZZ Top loser, ride your tractor alongside his house. He's going to come outside. Then Steve Desmond, who's his supervisor or employee of Broccolo Tree and Lawn Care, he gets on the phone and he calls Panorama Trap. And that's exactly what happened. I'd go outside again. Shouldn't be on land that you don't own and can't prove you own. Shouldn't be cutting land at 7 o'clock in the morning next to a private residence that has no ownership. So I go outside. They don't own that land. I'm outside for 30 seconds, and that video from this device is on me. And they'll lie about that. That's it. So when I call it a surveillance device, it's a, wait for it, Todd the fascist stooge, a surveillance device that you purchased. That's it right there on that building. And I was on the video. And a year ago, 18 months ago, when I was demanding this video, I didn't hear from my mail.com account. We don't know what you're talking about, Chris. It has an assigned number, and I've been given 2 numbers, a CR and an ICN. So they can't even get it right as to what the identifying marker or number is for that video. And I'm demanding the video because I'm not committing any crime, and they don't want anybody to see this video because they concocted criminal contempt for me. This is what his parasites and his fanatics are doing here in Monroe County. Forget about real crime. The murderers, the rapists, the arsonists, the degenerates in Monroe County. They're coming to my house. And when they came here, 6 of them were here. And my neighbor Adam watched this. My neighbor across the street watched this. Happened to me. So, what would you think, Sandra, if that happened to somebody in your family? What would you think about that? So, that's criminal contempt. This is the fiction of Todd Baxter's life. Criminal contempt. I go to the gym, the now defunct PW Fitness in Penfield. I'm at the back of the gym. The gym psychopath is Jermaine Benman. He comes up to me, motions for me to get off the bench press. I never allow the gym psychopath to tell me what to do. I say to him, I'll be 30 seconds. This violent thug doesn't want to wait 30 seconds. I lean back. I'm on the machine already. So I'm not getting off the machine because he wants to use it. So when he goes like this, I begin to use the machine because I'm already on it. And he stands over me and he punches down. My head snaps back. My hand prevents me from landing on the floor. So this assault has a witness. And I did not respond to Benman with my own violence, even though I wanted to, because I don't believe in violence, especially in a public place. If this didn't happen in a public place, that would have been different. But it was a public place, and it has witnesses. And a witness called the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, and Andrew Reale arrives. So I go outside with Benman and Reale. And Reale tells me to wait in his vehicle, and I do. And I'm watching Reale talk to Benman. And it's beginning to occur to me what's going to happen, and this is not going to be good for me. Because he didn't ask me one thing about this. Because Reale's been to my house because it's grass cutting. So here's Chris Chichester again, and I'm going to put the screws to this Chris Chichester. That's what Andrew Reale's thinking. That's what Andrew Reale's in the process of doing as I'm sitting in his vehicle. So he's talking to Benman because he's coaching Benman. He's telling Benman what to say. And he walks Benman to the side of the vehicle, and Benman says to me, quote, "I want to press charges against you," end quote. And I'm looking at this violent thug who I should have kicked in the balls, but Todd Baxter would have charged him with kicking him in the balls. And I'm in disbelief as to him saying he wants to press charges against me. And that is how I am charged with this despicable, vile, bankrupt lie of harassment, second by Andrew Reale, and Andrew Reale has not been fired. If there's an employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office who should never get his 20 years, it's Andrew Reale. And he's been told this, Sheriff Todd Baxter, for a year, over and over and over. And I just saw this guy again on Penfield Road. And he talks to me like I go back to the 10th grade with him running on the cross-country team at Center Reach High School in Long Island, like we've been buddies for over 30 years. It doesn't even occur to this guy that he did this to me. And I purposely do not remind him because I just want to see how delusional he is. So I didn't lose at all my respect for the law, ever. And now I have criminal contempt, which is a lie, and harassment second, which is a lie. So I have to go to Penfield Town Court. And how do I go to Penfield Town Court? I walk over there because beautiful, perfect Laura, who I moved from Webster to Penfield with in 2012, used to work at the Penfield Public Library, and I didn't even know that at the end of the hall is James Mully and John Lomenzo, even though she works at the library. So I walk in the library, and I'm standing there in front of Lomenzo, and he doesn't even know what the charge is. And I have to correct him in court. And I look over to my left, and who do you think I'm looking at, Madam District Attorney? Who do you think I'm looking at in Penfield Town Court to my left over here? Because I'm standing in front of Lomenzo, who doesn't even know the charge. He's so befuddled. This 70-year-old hack releasing Daniel DeLouse in Penfield, a sexual predator. I'm looking at your prosecutor, your female prosecutor, standing there at the podium, and I'm waiting for what she has to say. Because I'm not guilty of any crime. I haven't committed any crime. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting, Madam District Attorney. What is she going to say? Because anything she says is a lie. She says nothing. And the proceeding is brought to an end by 70-year-old hack John Lomenzo. And I walk into the back, and Andrew Reale is waiting for me there. Put your hands behind the back. And he says to me, "We decided to arrest you before you came here today." I'm not even in this Star Chamber. And Reale tells me, "We decided to arrest you before you came here today." How does that even happen? I mean, did he sit around with his Monroe County Sheriff Office extremists and discuss this? Did he just come up with this fiction in his mind? He says. But it's only him standing there. So he says to me, "We decided to arrest you." He knows how I'm charged by walking Jermaine Benman around to the side of the vehicle. And there he is waiting for me. So I haven't committed a crime. I'm sitting in the back seat of his vehicle. He marches Bedman around to the side of the vehicle, and that's how I'm charged with harassment second. Your prosecutor doesn't say a word in Penn Court. There's no testimony against me. There's no witnesses saying, there's that Chris Chichester, this is why he's guilty of this concoction, this crime, harassment second. I've never been accused of a crime because I've never committed a crime. Do you understand what has happened to me, Madam District Attorney Sandra Doorley, as you asked for another 4 years? Doesn't even matter. Do I count in this life? What is it in our hearts and minds that compels us to seek the truth? To embrace the truth? I'll tell you what it is. It is love. It is love of the human condition. And in the Monroe County of John Lomenzo, James Mully, Todd Baxter, and Sandra Doorley, there is only hatred. Hatred for the human condition, hatred for humanity, hatred for the truth, and hatred for the soul's right to breathe. So, on May 27, 2019, I sent Sheriff Todd Baxter this letter. Todd Baxter, 966 Panorama Trail, Rochester, New York. Where is your public employee payroll? Todd, the fascist stooge. Do you have a mental incapacitation that prevents you from understanding English language in a FOIA? Are you afflicted with a learning disability? 18 times I sent you a Freedom of Information Law document that demands your public employee payroll. 18 times you refused to comply with the law. 18 times you arrogantly dismissed the lawful request for how taxpayer dollars are spent. He abridges my civil and constitutional rights with his corrupt, hack fanatic, Andrew Reale. And I want to know how much Reale's paid. I want to know how much everybody's paid, but I specifically want to know how much Reale's paid. So, I speak to his employee, Patty Meyer, because his parking lot next to my house. This is it. Because one day, for the 4,000th time, 4,000 times, I've walked through this parking lot to get to Penfield Road, to get to the sidewalk, to go to Wegmans. And every time I go to Wegmans, there he is with his badge-wearing, gun-carrying, Boney Five joke, sitting next to the Wegmans at 2157 Penfield Road doing nothing. But since I've been hammering this corrupt hack sheriff about his whack jobs being alongside that building, they're not there as often as they used to be. So I'm looking for them, and I have my phone, and I take a picture of them every time they're there. And they were just there 2 days ago. But they're not there as often as they used to be. So, this is the parking lot. He decides he wants to nail me to the wall because one day I'm walking through this parking lot, I'm walking this way, just like my neighbors do every day. And I hear screaming from behind me, and that's Neeraj Shah, screaming inside his vehicle. And I confront him. I say, what's the problem? He refuses to talk to me. He goes to the Monroe County Sheriff about walking through this parking lot. This is the Holy Roman Todd K. Baxter parking lot. So, Sheriff Baxter decides that he's going to put a surveillance device on this building. And when I say it's a surveillance device, it's right there. That's it. That's his camera, and I was on it. So, I sent him this FOIL on August 19th. Public employee payroll for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Monroe County Jail. He refused. The cost of his surveillance device purchased with taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter and fixed to a building in 2025 Penfield Road to monitor for Christopher Chichester, 26 Sandra Farm Drive, walks through the parking lot next to the building. He refused both times. I know I can't get the image. But if he expended public funds, I could get that, or try to, attempt to. So I want his public employee payroll. He refuses. I want the cost of that surveillance device, and it's his device. He refuses. And then I want the names and charges of every inmate at Monroe County Jail from January 1, 2018 to December 31, 2018. Because without taxpayer dollars, he doesn't have a jail. And I want that information because I want to talk to these people at the jail. Because when I was at the jail, I'm writing down everything I see. And what I see is a stomach-turning descent on the dignity of every person at that jail. And what goes on at that jail is something out of Charles Dickens' novel. So I'm writing everything down that I see. And then I notice that in my vicinity is one of the jail employees. And I'm thinking it's odd that when I'm writing things down, he's in my vicinity. And then I conclude that he's following me around. And I go back to my jail cell, and the fact that I have to say a jail cell is an innocent man enrages me. And he follows me into my jail cell, and I sit down on the cot, and he goes to grab my notebook, and I pull it away. And he takes my arm, puts it behind my back, and jams my arm up my back. And I try to fight off this pain, and he grabs my notebook, and he leaves. So this guy attacks me in my jail cell. In my jail cell. I never thought in my life I'd say those 4 words. Because I have led my life with honor and character. Everybody that knows me will say that. And I don't go around saying things like, I lead my life with honor and character. But since my honor and character is under assault and under siege, I have honor and character. So, Todd Baxter's jail employee attacks me at the gym. Now, I wish I would have responded. So I'm attacked at the gym by Benman as an innocent man. Then I'm attacked at the jail by one of Todd Baxter's taxpayer-subsidized employees. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start to fight back when this happens to me next. Because I'm going to be as vicious and violent as these people. This has not happened to me anymore. And I'm already taking steps in my life to see that this never happens to me again. And I'll just say that I'm in great shape right now. Because this is never going to happen to me again. Because if I'm going to go to jail, then the other guy is going to have a broken jaw when I go to jail. Or he's going to be missing a ball. So, Todd Baxter's employee leaves with my notebook, and now my arm's bothering me, and I'm trying to fight it off. So I go to the desk, and I say, my arm's bothering me. That's what I tell the jail. That's all I say. I go back to my cell. I say, I need to go to the doctor. I go back to my cell. And who comes to get me in my cell? Unless I'm sitting there. This same criminal employee for Todd Baxter. So I go to the jailhouse doctor with this guy as my escort to the jailhouse doctor. So I tell the jailhouse doctor what I just told you, and I've told you this previously on a different YouTube. So I don't even know if you're watching or listening. I'm telling you again, because I'm relentless, and I'm going to continue to make these. And then I'm going to get ready to send them out. I'm getting ready to send them out. So, I'm sitting in front of the jailhouse doctor with Todd Baxter's whack job behind me. And I tell him what I just told you. And the doctor says to me, who attacked you in your jail cell? And I reply, the guy standing behind me. And what I get from the doctor is no response. Not, really? Or tell me more? Or, are you sure it's him standing right behind you? Because that's really bizarre. Nothing like that. And he doesn't say to the doctor, I don't know what you're talking about. This inmate, this man's lying. Nothing like that. So. On 8/16, It's now October. 2 months ago. Public employee payroll asked Todd Baxter for it. He refused. 20 plus times I've demanded this. I want the cost of the surveillance device on August 16th. I didn't hear him. We don't know what the hell you're talking about. I want the names and charges on August 16th. Each one of these I've sent to him 20 plus times, and every single time he has refused to send me his public employee payroll. Now, I communicated with you on May 27th, and I'm going to show you. I've told you all this over and over and over. And here you are. You're copied on that. You got that registered mail return receipt. CC Sandra Doorley. CC Sandra Doorley. So, Sandra, have you ever had an order of protection written by a judge upon you and upon your dignity and character when you know you're innocent? Has that ever happened to you? Has that ever happened to you, Sandra? Because what would you think if you had an order of protection written for you for a 70-year-old woman you've never met? What would you think about it? What would you think if you had an order of protection written for you for a violent thug that attacks you at the gym? Because this is Jermaine Benman, June 13, 2018. This is Layla Kumar Shah, May 23rd, 2018. This gives you an idea how I have to go to this disgusting star chamber. So, on May 23rd, 2018, I go there with this order of protection, and I say I'm not signing that. And they're threatening me with more charges, threatening me. So, I don't know what to do. I don't have counsel. I don't have representation. I'm greatly concerned about more charges. I don't know if I'm being lied to. So, this is my primary regret. I'm a flawed human being like every human being, and I make mistakes, and I should not have signed this document. That's my mistake. I should have not signed this order of protection to avoid Layla Kumar Shah, who lives right over there. Am I allowed to live in my house, John Lomenzo, after I sign this order of protection to avoid Layla Kumar Shah? Because I walk down the sidewalk every day past 2041 Penfield Road, their little Shah law firm. So I should not have signed this. And I have to go back to Penfield Town Court on June 13th. Order of protection for me to avoid Jermaine Benman, this violent thug. Now that I definitely am not signing. And I get the same thing again, more charges. And I say, go ahead. Now right there, defendant refused to sign. And that's what I should have done with this. This is my mistake. This was not a mistake. They're shaking me down. This John Lomenzo, his goal is to humiliate me. I said I'm not signing, and I didn't. And they didn't do anything. So then, I left and came home. What would you think about what has happened to me happening to someone you love, Sandra? What would you think about an order of protection issued against you, Sandra? Say your neighbor doesn't want you to walk through a parking lot next to your house, and John Lomenzo writes an order of protection for you to avoid your neighbor because of his parking lot. What would you think about that? You would conclude this is the lunatic fringe. John Lomenzo is the lunatic fringe. What is the name of the prosecutor in my case in Penfield Town Court that stands at the podium and says not one word, not one sound, not one syllable as I am delivered to Monroe County Jail? What is her name? Sandra Doorley. Tell me her name. You will refuse. You refuse because you have to refuse. You have to refuse, Sandra Doorley. Because my life is inconsequential. I don't count in Monroe County, Sandra Doorley. So, I go outside to confront Tooth's tractor rider, and now I'm demanding title to land alongside my house. Where is it? You say you own that land alongside the house? Where is it, Lady Kumar and Raj? There it is. Who the hell owns that? And this is just too refused. Refused. See that? This guy goes to the sheriff's office for me walking through a parking lot that my neighbors walk through every day, that I've walked through 4,000 times. Dr. Gloria Nichols was my dentist. And I'm demanding title to the property, and he's refusing to open his mail. So, what is it in our hearts that seeks the truth, Sandra Doorley? Tell me. Because the truth to you, Sandra Doorley, is an alien concept. The truth to you is vacuous. The truth to you is bankrupt. Resign your office, Sandra Doorley.